In the cold, gray, concrete world of the prison yard, predators constantly seek new prey. Their latest target is Leon Carter, a quiet, solitary black inmate whose withdrawn demeanor marks him as an easy mark. Just another man broken by the system. The Iron Fangs, the yard's most vicious gang, see a victim. They see a man stripped of his dignity, too defeated to fight back. But Leon Carter is a wolf in sheep's clothing. He was once the most feared Delta Force commander, a shadow who led missions so covert they were never officially acknowledged. Framed for a crime he didn't commit, he's a pawn in a powerful man's game, and the gang has been paid to ensure he never leaves. Their first mistake was assuming he was weak. Their second will be forcing the ghost of a legend to reawaken. This isn't a fight for survival. It's a reckoning that will burn the prison to the ground. The steel door clanged shut behind Leon Carter, the sound final, echoing in the sterile concrete silence of his new world. The cell was a gray 6 by 9 foot box, smelling of industrial disinfectant and despair. Leon stood motionless for a long moment, his broad shoulders nearly filling the narrow space. His eyes, sharp and perpetually assessing, scanned the stained walls, the rusted sink, the thin, hard bunk. It was a universe away from the command centers and desert outposts that had been his domain. His mind flashed back to the sand-blown hell of a covert op in Syria, the weight of a rifle in his hands, the absolute trust of his team. Now he was alone. Betrayed by the very nation he'd bled for, convicted on manufactured evidence for a pipeline sabotage he had nothing to do with. The sting of that injustice was a cold knot in his gut, colder than the steel at his back. A low murmur of voices and the scuff of boots echoed from the cell block. Through the narrow, reinforced window in his door, he could see the other inmates moving like sharks in a tank. Their eyes, when they flicked toward his cell, were not curious, but calculating. Tattoos mapped allegiances, posture declared power. Leon knew the language. He'd seen it in warlords and insurgents. Here the uniforms were different, but the hunt was the same. He'd already heard the name whispered with a mix of fear and contempt, the Iron Fangs. They ruled this concrete jungle, and their leader, a brute named Blaze, had already marked Leon with a long predatory stare during the intake process. Leon was the new variable in their equation, and they were deciding whether he was a threat or prey. The next day, the yard was a vast cage under a bleached sky. Leon kept to the perimeter, his back instinctively finding the cold chain-link fence. He moved with a quiet, economical grace that belied his size, every sense tuned to the ecosystem of violence around him. It didn't take long. Blaze, flanked by his lieutenants, broke away from his group and swaggered over. He was all coiled aggression and cheap tattoos, a king in a kingdom of dirt. "New fish," Blaze announced, his voice a gravelly sneer. "Don't think I've seen you before. You get lost on the way to the country club?" Leon met his gaze, his expression neutral. "Just doing my time." "Yeah? Well, time moves different in here. Slower, especially for guys who think they're too good for the pond." He stepped closer, invading Leon's space. "Heard you were some kind of soldier. That's supposed to impress me?" "It's not for you," Leon replied, his voice low and even. One of Blaze's men, a wiry convict with a spiderweb tattoo on his neck, snickered. "Looks soft to me, Blaze. Probably cracks easy." Blaze's eyes hardened. "Everyone cracks in here. It's just a matter of how much pressure you apply." He leaned in, his breath smelling of stale coffee. "You're on my radar, soldier boy. Remember that." They moved off, leaving a vacuum of tension in their wake. Leon didn't react, but his hands curled into fists at his sides. The message had been delivered. The hunt was on. The first test came in the mess hall. A tray accidentally bumped from his hands, slopping gruel onto his shirt. Loud, mocking laughter. Leon simply bent, retrieved the tray, and walked away, cleaning himself with methodical calm. The second test was a shoulder check in a narrow corridor, hard enough to stagger a normal man. Leon absorbed the impact, shifted his weight, and kept walking, his eyes never leaving the smirking inmate who'd delivered it. He was playing a dangerous game of restraint. His Delta Force training screamed at him to neutralize the threat, to break the first man who touched him and establish dominance. But that was the battlefield. This was a different war, one fought with patience and perception. He was outnumbered, outgunned, and playing on their turf. A direct confrontation would be suicide. He had to be smarter. His only lifeline was Jessica Green, a razor-sharp public defender who believed in his innocence. During a tense visitation, she laid out the grim reality. "The evidence against you was planted, Leon. It's flimsy, but it's got powerful backing. I'm working on an appeal, but it's gonna take time. You have to stay safe in here." Leon's jaw tightened. Safe isn't an option. The Iron Fangs have a contract. Someone paid them to make sure I don't walk out. Jessica's face paled. "Do you know who?" "Not yet, but they're getting impatient." His words were prophetic. The real attack came in the shower room. Steam clouded the air, muffling sound. Leon was under a spray of lukewarm water when the shadows detached themselves from the walls. 3 of them, including the wiry spiderweb tattoo guy, armed with sharpened toothbrushes and pure malice. There was no warning, no taunt, just sudden, brutal violence. Leon's training took over. The world narrowed to a series of split-second calculations. He sidestepped a lunge, redirecting the attacker's momentum into a tiled wall. A fist connected with his ribs. He grunted, twisting to minimize the damage. He moved not like a brawler, but like a technician. A disarming twist here, a debilitating pressure point strike there. It was efficient, brutal, and silent. He used the environment, slippery floors, the spray of water in an assailant's eyes. He took a shallow cut on his arm from a shiv, but broke the wrist holding it. Within a minute, 2 men were groaning on the wet floor, and the third was backing away, fear finally overriding orders. Blaze appeared in the doorway, not to join the fight, but to watch. His expression was no longer a smirk, but a cold, calculating glare. He'd underestimated his prey. Leon stood panting, water and blood mingling at his feet, his body thrumming with adrenaline. "This isn't over," Blaze hissed, before melting back into the steam. Beaten but not broken, Leon was dragged to the infirmary. It was there, as a weary nurse stitched his arm, that he found an unexpected ally. The guard overseeing him, a man named Jones with weary eyes and a quiet demeanor, spoke without looking at him. "Heard you handled yourself in there." Leon remained silent. Jones risked a glance down the hall. "Knew a guy like you once, in Kandahar. Saved my unit's ass when our Humvee got hit. Delta, right?" Leon finally looked at him, a flicker of surprise breaking through his stoicism. Jones gave a barely perceptible nod. "Blaze is a problem, but he's not the real problem. The real problem is the man who signs his checks. Watch your back, soldier. I'll do what I can." It was a tiny crack in the wall, a sliver of light. He wasn't completely alone. The failed attack changed the dynamics. The casual harassment stopped. The yard watched him now with a new kind of silence, not of dismissal, but of wary respect. Blaze was fuming, his authority challenged. He couldn't let this stand. Leon used the lull to plan. He couldn't just defend, he had to go on the offensive. He needed leverage. He began to observe, to listen, to piece together the prison's economy, the flow of contraband, the guards on the take, the weak links in Blaze's chain of command. He identified a low-level Fang named Cole, young and nervous, often tasked with running errands. Cornering him in a secluded storage closet, he didn't lay a hand on him. He just leaned in, his voice a low, dangerous whisper. Tell Blaze his employer isn't happy. The job isn't done. How long do you think the money will keep flowing if I'm still breathing? Cole's eyes widened in panic. The message was delivered. The next day, Jessica arrived for a visit, her face grim. I found something. A shell company. Haven Enterprises. It's a front. It's been making large, untraceable payments to a bank account linked to a known associate of Blaze's. Leon felt a surge of triumph. Who owns it? That's the problem. It's buried under layers of paperwork. But I'm close, Leon. So close. It's not enough, he said. I need a name. I need to know why. The